I'd like to start off thanking Jason and his entire crew. Wonderful weekend. I'd like to thank all the sponsors, all the vendors. It's been a great weekend. Once again, my name is Michael Hughes. I'm representing Kallenshaan Woods. I don't own it. I'm just a friend of his, and I like helping him out. I'm probably one of his best customers. I don't do large demonstrations like this. I normally only teach one-on-one, so I might be a little bit nervous. I did not drink any caffeine coffee today, hoping my hands would not be shaking, but I'm not going to guarantee that. Today, we will be demonstrating the Kallenshaan inlay kit, and we will be making this giraffe pen. So I'll pass that around, and you can see I've got a price tag on there of $65. Prices, my inlays always start at $60 or above, and it depends on the price of the kit as to how much I charge for it. So if I'm paying $50 for a kit, I have to charge more money for it. And I had a pair of glasses. Here. Oh, we're going to do real good. Okay, the first thing you want to start off on doing these kits is read the entire sheet before you do anything. And then go back and reference it after that. And then before building your kit, you want to take an air compressor and blow off your entire work area, including the floor and your clothes. At home, at my shop, I go one step further because these pieces like to bounce and fly away. So I will use just any piece of cloth. You can use a terry cloth towel from a hotel, which I did for years. But I found that with the loops in that thing, a lot of those small pieces, and they get really, really small, can get lost. So now I'm using this piece of fabric, keeping them from bouncing away, but yet it's also very easy to see. Okay? So at the end of the demonstration, I'll be giving away a few things, compliments of Kallenshaan Woods. I have these in different stages in completion, but we're going to go ahead and build one at the same time. So we discussed cleaning, we discussed moving. Sure, oh yes, please. I printed 25 of these. I looked in the room. They told me there were 183 chairs. Holy shit, what am I going to do now? So they did tell me that it would be available online, so I gave them a copy of it, so hopefully it will be available online. There's a lot of different techniques, tricks, and tips to doing these. But right off, I'm going to show you the basic instructions. The more complex these kits get, the more trips and techniques you need to know. This is a quite simple kit to do. I think probably some of the more simpler kits would be the piano keyboards or the inlaid hearts or the inlaid crosses. I like the inlaid hearts and crosses because when you buy that kit, you actually get two for the price of one. And my favorite kit between those is the inlaid crosses because those took my sales from national to international. But the one I make the most of between the two are the inlaid hearts because I have a standing order for those all the time, and I build those 12 at a time. So I'll buy 6 of those kits and I've got 12 pins. And I notice Miles has the Kallenshaan kits out here, and he might be running low on them. So, and I buy inlay kits from all the companies that have them. I probably deal, well, there's no doubt, I deal with Kallenshaan more because of his customer service and his selection. If you don't like putting these together, but you like inlays, Wooden Whimsies, when you buy them, they come already assembled. that takes all the fun out of it for me. I really like, you're all right. I really like building them. So, and then there's wooden whimsies, and then there's also laser lines. So, and they're out of Georgia. So I like to begin, before I do anything, I will take the barrel and I will put a few of these little rubber bands on the end of it. Because what you will find is once you get this thing loaded up with a bunch of the pieces, and then you try to get a rubber band on there, it goes like that. And then you're back to square one. So I'll put some rubber bands on here to get me started. Just 2 or 3, you can add more as we go. So in these instructions, he's going to want you to start with number 1 and go right on through. This has 15 pieces. That black lab over there has 37. It's a little more detailed. So what you get here, all of the dots, the brown dots that are on that giraffe are on this little piece right here, and this is called a tree. And it's just like building models when you're kids. How many of you in here built models as kids? All right, 99.9%, all the same. So that little tree, and those pieces are on there the same way that they go on to the barrel. You always want to put a new tube in the barrel. Make sure that's empty. Take a new tube and put it into the barrel. I want to explain that all of these pieces are cut on a diagonal from the outside in like this. So when you build these on that tube, you might have some little gaps in between there. So after you get it built, we're going to take that tube out, and they're all going to collapse, but they won't fall in. And at that point, we're going to use some, and I'm going to jump around on all this stuff. We're going to use these little micro brushes and glue those pieces in there, and then we're going to hit it a few more times with thin CA, and we're going to sand the inside of it, and we'll get to all of that. So I put an unpainted tube in here first. When we go to glue the tube in, we will be using a painted tube, and I paint it black. Before you put the tube in at all, you want to hold it on the outside and see just exactly where you want it to end up as a finished product, and you want to put a little line on there. Right there. And you can do both ends, or you can just do one end. It really makes no difference. With this giraffe, I like to see a little more above his antlers, so a lot of times I'll write it a little bit high. And then when we go to glue that tube in, we can use our micrometers and put it on that line. There. So I will set my micrometers here at that line, and then when I go to shove my tube in, I can just transfer those micrometers to the inside and push that tube in exactly where I want it. So I'll set that right there right now. And we'll start building this. So your number 1 piece is the background piece, and number 2 shows that it is this piece. And with this giraffe, that piece is going to hang down a little bit below the barrel, and that's fine. This is where you might want to run one of those rubber bands down there to hold that piece in and run it a little bit low. And then we're going to punch these pieces out and start applying them into this background piece. Can you see that? Great. Let me know if you have any questions, although hopefully I will answer them as we go along.
The little rubber bands, is those the ones that you can get like at Walmart and stuff?
You know, these rubber bands come with all the kits. He sends you an ample supply of the rubber bands. As a matter of fact, These are the ones that I don't use that so that's, yeah, he sends you plenty. So, and if you want to hold the tube in there and not have it sliding around, you can double this rubber band up and it will collapse a little bit tighter, okay? So I use a lot of dental tools, different selection of them. And normally at home, all this stuff is nice and prepared everywhere. Also, what I do, you don't have to, but as I get older, my eyes don't work too good. I use these. They've got a little light on them. It's not required. It's another one of those things. I can get so involved in this stuff, you think, God, I don't want to do these. This is hard. You need all this stuff. You don't. My eyes aren't what they used to be. I'll wear these. And a lot of times my hands are shaking pretty bad because of medicine that I take, and I drink a lot of coffee. So tweezers don't work because those pieces seem to fly out of the tweezers also. So a tip that I do, and this is a really nice trick, I'll put a couple pieces of tape down, and this is just a piece of scrap Corian I had laying around. Normally I have my drawer pull out, has that little shelf on it, and it's filled with masking tape. And I take my knife and I slice these things really thin, and instead of using rubber bands, I'll use this tape. And it works very well because you can reposition it, and it holds it down real well. We will be gluing these pieces in, and you're going to glue those rubber bands on, or you're going to glue this tape on. It really makes no difference because you're going to be turning all that stuff off anyhow. You don't have a whole lot to turn with these when you're done, but you're certainly going to be turning off the tape or the rubber bands. So you can see how thin these strips are, if I can get that off. I even trimmed my fingernails so I would look good on camera. I need them right now. So I'll take this little piece of tape and I will pick up those pieces just as I need them, and now they're not going to fly off that tape. And you can position them very easily however you want to in here. So that's a real nice technique for you. Another thing, little tip I want to give you, you never want to move that piece off this piece of cloth, because that's when it's going to drop. I don't know why. Okay, so I'm really having trouble saying. Here we go. So you can punch these things out from the back. Like I say, they're all tapered cut, so they're going to push out easiest from the back. And you can start at the top or you can start at the bottom. Sometimes these things will already be out because of the laser cutting process. They cut them very nicely. Dental tools work great for pushing these things out. So we're going to start with that one. And if you push them out just right, they're going to stay in order right there on your towel.
Get the dental tools at?
You can buy dental tools really at Harbor Freight, has them. You can buy 3 of them in a pack, or you can buy them individually. Or if you spend as much time as I do in the dental chair, your dentist will give them to you. So he doesn't really give them to you.
Thank you gift for buying the second house.
Yeah. He doesn't really give them to you. I'm sure I'm paying for them somewhere. But give you an example, I had to have a root canal here 2 weeks ago, and I fell asleep in the chair while it was being done. So yeah, I spend some time in the dentist chair. These pieces, as you can see with this tree, it's curved. So are all the little pieces that were in there, although the curvature is a little bit smaller. That's a good way to know which way it's going to go on the barrel if you get twisted around a little bit. Like I said, all the pieces are cut on an angle. You want to make sure that you get them all out, and as I can see, I did not. There's still a couple of them in there. I tried to punch them out in order. And then I'll go one step further. I save all these little tree pieces and any extra pieces you get with any of these kits. And a lot of times you get extras because they find it's better just to put extras in there than have to mail them to you because you lost them. They pretty much know what pieces you're going to lose. There we go. So at my place, I will turn well into the evening at my lathe, and then I'll go over to my desk and work on building some inlays. And I do a lot of production work, so I might be working on 6 at the same time in different stages. Okay, so now I have all those little pieces punched out, and I will save this. Here I have a bag of extra pieces and parts. And if you look at there's a yellow pin over there, and if you look real close at it, it's about 4 or 5 of these trees that have been glued onto the barrel, and then I poured yellow acrylic in it. It just gives you a completely different pin. So with this, we call this the negative. So if he will take a barrel, say like a red barrel, and he'll cut a lot of candy canes out of it. Well, now he has this red barrel with candy canes cut out. He wants the candy canes. He doesn't want that barrel with a bunch of holes in it. He used to start his fireplace with it, with all these scrap. So we'll call that the negative, okay? Now he sells those negatives, and you can buy those negatives and fill them with any color of acrylic that you want. That's what several of those are over there. If you recognize it and it's just a nice looking pattern, that's what those leftovers are. You can take it one step further and make the pieces smaller, much smaller, and then put different colors on each end of it with acrylic. So I have one there that is different shades of a ruby red in the middle and black on each end. And that's a whole different story on how I came up with that. But sometimes accidents turn into gold mines. So I'm going to start now by placing, I already have piece number 2 in there, and I'm going to run right down through these pieces of the brown dots and build that for you. And I'll pass these things around as we get them into different stages, but at this point I need to build this real quick. So we're just going to put those in there in the shape or design that I think they need to be. If these pieces don't fit, please don't force them. You probably have it in the wrong hole. So, with that being said, I'll kind of got them out of order here. So if they don't fit, there are different things you can do. Like sometimes you might see those kits with 50 stars. Those stars only go in there one way. Sometimes you have to turn them around and figure out which way they go. But with those stars, if you soak them in water first, they're going to work real well. Then you just have to let them dry out before you use them. So there is a top and a bottom on all of these pieces. And normally the bottom is it's just a little bit darker color. And you would think with as many of these as I've done, I would be a lot faster at it. And I'm going to double this rubber band up to keep that piece number 2 from sliding on me. So this piece number 2 goes below the bottom of the regular tube here. And you want, everything should be at the same level. If it's too high, it's not going to go down and hit that barrel far enough. And that's going to give you a problem when you go to glue it in, that they're not all the way down there. And you can look through this side and see that those pieces are going to be close enough to the barrel or not. Yeah, so if you don't have patience, you don't want to buy any of these kits. One of the great things about Kallenshaan Woods is his customer service. I just really can't say enough for it. I was extremely impressed with it the first time I had to use it, before I really got to know Ken. Ken would like to be here with you today, but he's recovering from back surgery, which prevented him from going to SWAT. Okay, so I'm going to transfer another one of these rubber bands down here. Or this is an area where I could also be using the tape very well to keep the rubber bands out of the way.
Does he have a video out there on how to put these together also?
He does not. I saw a video somewhere. One of the guys that does a lot of videos, I can't remember his name, maybe Jason something. He did a video on the wine bottle one, and I watched it, and I was in pain and agony. He should not be making a video on it. But, to each his own. I'm not going to slam anybody. Anybody that does these, I respect them. I'm having trouble with that barrel sliding in and out. Doubling up the rubber band did not seem to do the trick. And you also have to understand that humidity does a lot to these things. So these are all made in Las Vegas. But when they get to my house, they're going to be a whole lot more humid. So things tend to move and twist. Here we go. That ought to do them. Okay. And you can roll these rubber bands around to get your little pieces in there. And also, another little tip, you can look at the grain of the wood. The grain of the wood is all going to be the same on these as your pieces go in. And these are all just little tips and tricks that you learn doing so many of these. So I build about 60 of these a year. Okay, I've got all those little pieces in, believe it or not. Okay, so now we're going to travel on. It looks like I have one left, and I don't know why, but we're not going to throw it away. We're going to keep it. And before you ever put any glue on it, you want to make sure that you have all your pieces on there, because sometimes they do fall out. Okay, so we got 15. 1, 2, 3. See there, I started out of order. I'll put in the 15 pieces there, and I should have started off with 1, 2, 3, 4. So number 3 is his antlers, I guess you would call it. And that's just going to drop right in. Can we see that?
Yeah.
And sometimes if they don't go in real easy, try putting it in there from a different direction. And in this situation, I can tell you that this little piece right here is going to crack. Usually. Don't let that bother you. Here we go, and it did not crack. All right, so that's number 3. Number 4 is right between his forehead piece. Are you able to see this on camera? Or is my head in the way?
Your hands are covering it.
Yeah, I apologize for these big hands. That wristband that they gave me was just a little too tight, so I'm not able to wear that. You see where we're at there? Got 1, 2, 3, 4. Where is number 5? 5. Okay, so 5 and 6 are his nostrils. Okay, and in this case, the laser cutting of the one nostril did not get popped out. So now I have to take this head back off. Pop that little nostril out of there. Okay, so I got the laser cut nostril off of there. Here's where I'm going to use this tape. Can we see that? It's awful small.
You can hold it up to the camera.
Can we see that?
Yeah.
Things have fallen out of my nostril that are bigger than that. But it's probably a story you don't want to hear. So you can position it on the tape just how you want it. Remember, I told you these pieces are cut on an angle. And at this point, you can see which end is bigger than the other. And you always want to put the small end in first because we will be taking this tube out. And once again, you can look at the grain of the wood. Maybe I'd have better luck with my tweezers. Okay, there are the nostrils, 5, 6, and then 7 is his mouth. This is one of Kallenshaan's creations. It's probably been out about a year now, maybe 2. 7, 8. Eight and 10. Okay, so this piece number 8 has a little laser cut piece in there that did not pop out, and that's where his eye will go. So we'll place that in there. Eight, 9. 9 is the ear. Sometimes with these you can shift the pieces around a bit. Like this ear is not wanting to go in very nicely. Here we go. Like I say, you just have to finesse it in there a little bit. It will go. Everything is so precisely done. 8, 9, 10. And if they fit nice and snug, you really don't need to worry about the rubber bands. And if you screw up and break a piece, it goes back together real easy. And you probably won't see that flaw. See, I just broke that piece. Is that visible there? I just broke the corner of that ear, but I can roll it right back down in there, and you will not see that. So now that's a 10.
Time check. 5.
I have 5 minutes left in my hour? Really?
When we start.
We started at 11.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna stop here, and we're gonna speed things up a little bit, and I'm just gonna discuss these things. So you see how we put the pieces in there. And then after we get all the pieces in there, time flies. Okay, as you can see, this would be the completed piece, and I'll set these up here or pass them around. But if you'll notice, the pen tube does not fit in there, okay? So what I did, I pulled this tube out gradually, and I used just micro brushes and thin CA. And when you start gluing, I put a drop of thin CA on there. This is the delivery bags that come to your house. Nothing sticks to that silver. They're great glue mats, okay? Put a little drop on there, hit it with your brush, and then just touch these pieces with the least amount of glue that you can get on there until you get them all on. And then as you gently pull the tube out, so the higher you pull it up, then you can glue those pieces in. Once you get it all out, it's extremely fragile. And then you hit it with thin CA and you just drizzle it on there, and then you do that again. And then you are at this point, and it will not fit the tube. So at this point, we take our handy drill, and this handy little tool that is also available at Kallenshaan. You can get a dowel rod and wrap it with 100 grit paper, or you can buy these from Kallenshaan. And you stick that in there, and you turn it on, and you just roll that back and forth like that. Try to get it even. And you want to do that until your brass tube fits. And it's almost there. So I'm going to fast forward, and we're going to pretend that that brass tube fits. And then you're going to sand it out just a little bit more. Until your tube fits. Now, once your tube fits, you're in like Flynn. But you want to sand it out a little bit more because remember I told you we painted our tubes? If you keep trying it with a painted tube, you're going to scrape the paint off. But now I know that it'll fit, and my black tube will fit because I sanded it just a little bit more. At that point, I go back to my dentist office, and he gives me dental wax. I will plug the end of that, mix up my two-part epoxy, and when I will put the epoxy on the inside of this because you want to get any low spots, and then I'll load this up and I will work it with a hydraulic motion to pump it in and out, and then I'll do it the same way in the other end. And then once I'm sure that I have all the glue right where I want it, I will push that right to there, and with my little reference mark that we put on there originally, I will hit it right up to the end, and then I'll push that right in on the inside of that, and now it's going to stick just where I want it, and I'll let it down and let it rest. At that point, after your epoxy dries, on a drum sander or a disc sander, you want to sand down to the length of your tube. Do not use barrel trimmers. You will rip this thing apart. At that point, you want to fill in a little bit more of the voids, and that you are going to do with a medium CA, and it will look something like this when you are ready to turn. Can you see that? So if you look at this real close, you might see that there's still some cracks and gaps in there. You can fill that again with medium CA and let it dry, or you can turn this down part way and then hit it with the air hose to blow out any of your dust. But you want to make sure that when you get this down to where you want it, everything is filled and there are no gaps, no little holes, and you just fill that with medium CA. You can hit it with your activator, and then you can use any finishing method you want. I use the CA finish. So at that point, are there any questions? No? How many of you have built laser inlay kits? All right, marvelous. Well, I hope you learned something today.